Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. OpTic's first match with their new roster begins today, as does their intention to prove that building around Rambo and keeping that part of the team rather than the Dashy side of the argument was the correct decision. But many further frustrations with other players about the way the coaching is done in Call of Duty, especially FormaL suggesting that Rambo should not be going anywhere near telling a player like Shotzzy how to play the game. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Plenty to discuss. Firstly, we've got to dive through that series yesterday between the New York Subliners and Los Angeles Thieves. LA Thieves won Game 1 pretty impressively. Then Game 2, honestly, they threw both these games. Like Game 2 and Game 3. It's a frustrating one for Thieves fans, I'm sure, because obviously Subliners are the champions. Losing this 1v3 to Hydra was massive, and it's crazy really. Like Hydra, this guy is absolutely out of control right now. Kismet does enable him and also plays very well, but Hydra is the key man getting the things done right now, and obviously this 1v3 was not one you feel like you should be able to lose for Los Angeles Thieves, especially up 4-3. They went at 4-4, and then Subliners won this game, largely because Hydra was also just absolutely going rogue. He was 5-20, I think he was then 9-22 after the first couple of rounds, and he went on a ridiculous 10 spree towards the end of the game to close this one out. I mean, he was absolutely out of control, getting all the kills, and I mean, yeah, Los Angeles Thieves fans will be frustrated with this, because they were honestly very close to 3-0ing the Subliners. They had it in their pocket there. They looked good Game 1. They actually kind of dominated Game 1. Bit of a surprise against a Subliners team that's so good in the respawns, but you know, it's unlikely that Thieves are going to take both hard points in this series. So they needed to close out that surge. They really needed to close out this control as well, but it just wasn't to be. Hydra at this point on the 7th streak, calls in the streak, gets this offensive round win, which is difficult to do enough on Fortress as it is, and then they win the final hard win as well to close it out. So yeah, frustrating for Thieves, I'm sure. Subliners go on, well, they continue their winning streak, but yeah, Thieves online are never that good anyway, and I feel like this is a series that if they'd have won, it would have given them a fair bit of confidence going forwards. But yeah, Hydra was 7-20 in the first 3 rounds of control, then went 18-5 in the following 2, so crazy stuff from him. And then the Game 4 here on aBeZy, I thought this is funny. This is what Cellium used to do last season, right? He used to get up on the Gavoo 2 ladder right onto the boat and would sit there with the pistol taking pot shots across the map, and Skies does the same thing to quite good effect here. Drazah gets taken down, and Octane gets beamed across map with a pistol. Like, you know, that's kind of tough for him, but obviously expected given the fact that these pistols kill so quickly. And as Octane says, completely gifted maps 2 and 3. Gotta close out these maps when they should. Go again versus LAG, a very spicy series indeed, one they will be significantly favoured in, and coming out of this week, if your Thieves 1-1 isn't the end of the world. New York Subliners, great job for them capitalising. They looked you know, a little bit on edge at times, but they won the first event for a good reason. Hydra looks like certainly one of the best SMGs, if not just straight up the best SMG or player in the game right now at times at least, and yeah, as Envoy says, absolute worst way to lose. These were the overall numbers. Kenny had a good series from him, but Hydra 1.15. Skies had a rough one, especially in the search. I'm pretty sure he went like 1-10 in search for the win or something. So, you know, but nonetheless, Skies always turns up on LAN, so that makes this team even scarier than they were already. Now, let's talk again about this OpTic Dashy stuff, because we simply can't get away from it right now. There's so many storylines on this, and FormaL has given further thoughts. We saw yesterday that Karma was defending Dashy's decision to, well, say what he said, but also suggesting that OpTic had made a mistake by dropping him, and then FormaL has kind of doubled down on this and actually said that from his perspective, the coaches in COD are practically useless, but also has commented on Rambo specifically. Now, FormaL doesn't have experience with Rambo as a coach, right? He, of course, is there in the Hex quarters. He sees the COD team from time to time. I'm sure, you know, he talks to the guys. He sees Rambo. He understands his style, but it's quite clear from what Dashy said, and, you know, that Rambo is involved very specifically in the day-to-day kind of decision-making of the team. He's not just involved in the team chemistry and out-of-game stuff, booking scrims, making sure it's all going well. He's also very much involved in the actual decision making, right? The system they want to implement, and this has been made clear by Dashy and others, right? That okay, we look at the minimap after the series when they're doing VOD review. Rambo will call to them and say, hey, look, why do we make this play here? Why do we make that play there? Now, I think that's a good idea for the coaches to be involved in that stuff to a certain extent, but Dashy was saying, look, I don't really care about individual circumstances. I'm more intrigued in trends, right? If Rambo was to say, hey, on this particular rotation, P3 to P4, the league average rotation like win percentage is 35% or something, and we only win it 23% of the time, that's a problem. We've got to solve that. Or if on this particular hardpoint the average hold percentage is, you know, 65%, but we hold it like 80% of the time, let's look at what we're doing better than others so we can make sure that they can't capitalize on, you know, exploiting that strategy. I don't know. Like, those are the kind of macro picture things that maybe the coach should be involved in doing, rather than micro managing plays, which is what Dashy seemed to imply is happening here. And FormaL says that for for players like Shotzzy, and even Crimsix said this right, the players know the game better than the coaches do, which I don't think is really disputable necessarily because they play the game all day, and he would prefer the coaches to do those kind of macro things and out-of-game stuff rather than individual plays. And FormaL's like, well look, if you're Rambo and you're telling Shotzzy what to do, one of the smartest minds in COD, let him do what he wants and it'll work from there.
Most of the time coaches make the players tweak, dude. But like Rambo, I've never had Rambo as a coach, so I don't know, but if I was Rambo, I wouldn't be telling Shotzzy how to play at all, bro. If you're telling Shotzzy how to play, like, come on, bro. Let Shotzzy play however the he wants to play, bro. What the Let him fly around. He understands the game, like, he's like one of the best COD minds I've ever seen. Why would you tell him how to play? He understands how to play the game. Like, I would be telling the players how to support him, to be honest. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a Halo player.
I wouldn't know, because no one really spoke up against, like, you know what I mean? In the moment, no one would really say against me. If it wasn't like I was disagreeing with the entire team, it felt like the whole team was just
more 1v1?
Yeah, but everyone's spectating, basically.
Everyone's spectating a gunfight.
Everyone's in Codcaster, and then I'm on spec all by myself.
So do you think for your current teammates that that's something, and obviously they're teaming with Collar now, do you think that's something that they need to work on because they're not really going to be able to get to the level they want if they're not really going to speak their mind after maps?
I don't really know, because like I think Ray just wanted like a yes man or something, because I think I was the only one disagreeing with him, so maybe he just like enjoys the fact that Collar's there. Maybe, I don't know. I can't really speculate too much on their scrims because I'm not really there. I
mean, I feel like though even then it's like the weirdest thing on a team is the map ends and no one says anything. I know from like talking to other coaches around the league, that's always the weirdest spot for them because it's like...
So it was interesting from FormaL because it wasn't just like a throwaway comment. He doubled down on it and then he went a little bit further, right? And he said that like, look, if I'm the coach of that team, I'm not going to tell Shotzzy or really any of those players how to play the game. That's just going to inhibit their potential and what they can do on the map. So I thought that was very interesting. The other clip I shared, of course, was one there of Dashy talking about Rambo and the whole situation. He knows from his talk with Crimsix that maybe one of the reasons why he was dropped, if not the reason, was the friction there with Coach Rambo. We've known for some time the relationship between Rambo and Dashy wasn't particularly good. That's now become very evident indeed. And Crimsix and Dashy had a talk the other day when Dashy was initially doing his expose on stream, and he was like, and Crim was like, oh yeah, wow, you talk trash on Rambo, that's why you got dropped. Same thing happened to me when I guess he was on that Dallas Empire team going into OpTic Texas when the merger happened, and Rambo was seemingly a key reason why Crimsix didn't get brought onto that team, despite the fact that Scump actually wanted him, I believe, at the time. So Dashy basically said, right, that Rambo wants a yes man. Now, I'm not sure I really buy this necessarily. I don't think Dashy necessarily meant it the way it came out as well, but he was kind of implying there that Huke is a bit of a yes man, right? Because he's going to sit there, he's going to say, yes, no problem, Mr. Coach Rambo, I'll do what you say type thing. And I do agree that, I think Huke's personality is different to Dashy's in that sense, where Dashy's going to be more confrontational about stuff like this, and we've seen how that's ended really within the OpTic camp. I don't think Huke is necessarily going to be like that, but at the same time, like, I don't really think they brought Huke in for that reason necessarily. I'm sure that Rambo, knowing his history with Huke and the rest of the guys, is quite happy with this turn of events. It's probably going to be a much better internal team dynamic there. Whether it's actually working out for the best or not, as FormaL implied, that remains to be seen. But it is going to be probably a more cohesive team dynamic where they don't necessarily talk back to Rambo so much. Whether that's good or not, I think that's up for debate. But nonetheless, having Huke back is there for a reason. Dashy believes that reason might be because Huke is a bit of a yes man and he's not going to say no to Rambo and talk back on some of the mistakes that he believes he was making in terms of coaching decisions and this type of stuff. But also, I really think the reason why Huke is there is because what other options did they have at the end of the day? They obviously wanted Pred, and I don't think Pred would have just sat there and laid down and let Rambo just walk all over him if he wanted to make him make certain plays. I think Pred would have also been, I think he's got a bit of a Dashy-esque personality in him, at least to a certain extent, right? So I think that the reason why they picked Huke up is more than likely just because, like, he was the most sensible option. He was the one they teamed with before in parts. He was the one that was actually available and unrestricted free agent. So that's probably why this decision was made, rather than necessarily just wanting him to sit there and listen to all the feedback without any repercussions. But yeah, definitely tweet your thoughts on that one in the comments section below. A couple of things to close out with before we discuss the matches for tonight. Karma actually was discussing coaches again, and he talked about these similar ideas with his experience with coaches in the past, and he was actually calling out Brian Saint specifically for when Karma would be late on occasion. I guess the Modern Warfare Warfare Seattle days. That there was one time that Saint went on Twitter and kind of talked about this stuff, despite the fact that it was Karma who had to go pick up his daughter or something, so he was a bit late to practice. And Saint says, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm perfect, but there's always two sides to a story. I've certainly lashed out for my team in the past in situations where I wish I'd stayed quiet, reflecting on after. In Modern Warfare Seattle, were, you know, consistently 30 to an hour late for scrims on at least 5 occasions. During those instances, they were never really situations we were informed of in advance. I have DM receipts from at least 2 situations about, you know, an hour after start of scrim time from back then. We don't know where Damon is. He's not the person that was late for them every single time, but I was frustrated that season having our time torched consistently. With franchising, I expected most teams to be very punctual given the new, more professional nature of the scene, and I did let my anger get the best of me at times. So anyway, that's Saint's comments on the matter, and I thought it was kind of funny here. I did actually read it, but from Zed's side, I don't care not reading all that, says David Carvalho. So pretty funny stuff. And also a couple of things from Clayster. Temp calls him Greyster again. Yo, Grey is hard, bro, trust. So yeah, he's getting called Greyster officially now, even by his own team, but it's working out for him, right? Greyster was on fire the other day, and I don't believe they're in action again until next weekend. But also Clay's managed to find himself, I don't know where he got these from actually, because I think we were seeing that these trading card packs or whatever were getting marked up massively and were really difficult to acquire, but somehow Clay managed to get 4 of them for, I'm guessing, what is about retail. So you know, good stuff for Clay. Hopefully he does a stream about this. I would like to see how they all get on. And also this from Bance quickly, I've just realized that now Scump is an AR, and we'll see that for the first time tonight, really in official capacity. Bance is now the oldest sub in the league. Chalk it up, he says. So we'll see how that one turns out for him. But these are then the 3 games for tonight. Toronto versus Mutineers. This is an interesting one because Florida are always this team that can beat you 2-3-5, but I think that Ultra are just too good in Search to lose a series like this. I think like Florida, to beat you 2-3-5, you've got to be kind of bad in Search, and it can happen, but Toronto should win this one. I'm going to say 3-1. Then OpTic versus Breach. This is obviously the biggest series of the day, at least from my perspective, because you've got the new OpTic team. Huke is now there. I actually think that the change of Scump to the AR and bringing Huke in, I think it can work. I think that the old team, whether it was Dashy's problem or Dashy's fault or whatever, I think that the old team dynamics weren't really working. Something had to give, and I think the change they've made is actually a reasonable one. Now, the reasons for that, and as Dashy said, you know, obviously they're up for debate, and whether Rambo as a coach can actually prove with this new iteration, and with him probably doubling down on his opinion on the way to coach teams that FormaL or Dashy, maybe others disagree with, can work, then we'll see about that. But Boston were great on Friday, right? They came out swinging against Minnesota and just demolished them in that series. So, yeah, we'll see. It's not going to be an easy run for OpTic at all. I think I might take OpTic game 5. I don't know. I think they can come up with the W, but it's not going to be easy at all. And then we've got the LA Derby for the final match of the day. Guerrillas versus Thieves. Thieves should be favourites here. LAG looked pretty bad yesterday. There's no denying it. But still, game 5, anything could happen if it goes the distance here. And Exceed versus Drazah is always going to be a fun time. So very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.
Awakening, I gotta ask you about the major, baby. Boston is hosting it. There's a bowling alley nearby, I'm told. How are we feeling coming into this event? What are your expectations for the fans who are gonna get a chance to see you playing in their hometown?
The expectations are really high. Like, if we keep playing how we're playing right now,